Next, I'm going to show you how to create a lesson that is actually your own lesson and not from the teacher library on Brainitz. So go ahead and hit Add, Create New Lesson, Get Video. Now instead of selecting one of the videos from the video library, we're going to upload our own video. And we need to hit Choose File. That will then access your computer. And for here, it defaults for me as your desktop. You might have a video saved in your different files. But for me, I have a nice little video from Vimeo, which says it's now in Spanish and all sorts of other languages. This is great for our foreign language teachers. Or I've got a TED Talk that I've downloaded. But I'm just going to select this one for now. Hit Open. You need to give your video a title. Enter a series of tags next, which are just like keywords that help to kind of categorize your lessons. And then a description. Select the topic, access level, public or private, then your grade, and then hit Start Video Upload. Here you're going to see the upload progress show here. If your video is large or is in high resolution, it might take a little while, but otherwise it usually goes fairly quickly. And then as soon as it's done, you'll see this pop-up that says your video is ready for use. Hit OK. Your video will then be the very last video in the video library. You'll see I actually uploaded this one twice. And the last one is the one that we just did. Now you have your video name. Give your lesson a name. For this purpose, I'm going to give my lesson the same name as the video. Start date and end date to the lesson. And then hit Add Lesson to Course. Again, it takes you to the editing page, which is where that you can play, pause, scroll forward, add questions. And just for purposes of our sample lesson here, I'm only going to add in the 2 questions. As soon as you're done, hit Teacher Portal. And again, you can view all the lessons that you've created. In this case, we've created 3. Now, let's say for period 2, you want to add that same Spanish lesson or the video that Vimeo's in Spanish. So hit Add, select from Library, Get Lesson, and then here's where the filter is really nice because you can filter by only the videos that you've created. Well, once you hit Filter, you'll see that we've created these 2 videos and the Vimeo's in Spanish. I want to select that, add this to the course, give it a start date and end date. And now I've added that to my period 2 class. And this is a really nice way to be able to add lessons to multiple class periods if you teach the same class. And that's pretty much it. What I want to do next now is log out as a teacher and have you guys log in and create a student account. Now, before you do that, I want you to take note of your course code for period 1, your course code for period 2, and this today's permission code. The course code for period 1 is important because that's going to allow the student to put this in, which merges the student into that class. And the same with the period 2 course code. Now, today's permission code is important because that's going to allow a student that is under 13 that you do have parental permission for to be able to access and use Brainitz in its entirety. If you do not have parental permission, that's okay. I'm going to show you how that student can still access Brainitz without giving any personally identifiable information. But for now, let's go ahead and log out and we're going to create a student account. For a student, they simply hit register, just like you did as a teacher, then hit I'm a student. Now, if the student is over 13 or over, they simply hit in their age and their institution. For purposes today, I used just the testing one. And then next, they put in their first name, last name, email, username, and password. Once again, the password cannot be the same as a username. For a student, the password just simply has to be 6 characters. It can be uppercase, lowercase, letters, numbers, it doesn't matter. The email is important because that's what's going to allow the student to reset their password if they forgot it and they need to reset it. Then they can look at the terms of service and hit I agree and then register. Now, if the student is under 13, they might put in 11, the institution, and then next. At this stage, the student is going to be asked that if they have that permission code, and that is only available from you as a teacher. And if they do, they type it in and they hit submit. And they see all the exact same things here that a student that was over 13 had. Basically, the permission codes for a lot of you teachers are going to be working at schools that have an opt-out for parents, that parents agree to give teachers permission to use educational software as they see fit in the classroom for the educational benefit of their student. And then if parents don't like that, they can opt out and say, I don't give my student permission. You're going to want to check with your administrator and see what your policy is. But if you do have a situation where you don't have parental permission from a student, they would put in their age, hit the institution, hit next, and say, I don't have an account. In this case, the student can still register. The only thing is no personally identifiable information can be collected. They're going to put in a username that you're going to need to mark down as a teacher to know that username Cubs fan is actually John in your class. And you'll notice that if he tried to use Cubs fan as a username, he actually has to have a slightly different username. It has the first two letters of the institution or the school that you're at added to his username. So that way, if somebody hacks into an account where he's using Cubs fan as the username, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for hackers to hack into his account. Then the student creates a password. I've agreed, and then register. At this stage, they come to their course page, and they're not registered for any course yet, so they simply need to hit add a course. When they do, they select the teacher. I'm Clint Knox 2, the period, and then they type in the course code. In our case, it's Fish 22. And now they're enrolled in all those classes that you had for class period 1. If they had a different teacher, like say Clint Knox 1, they could do that and then select period 2 and then create the course code there. And then when they enroll, period 2's classes will be right there. So if you have a math teacher or an English teacher at your same school using it, that's exactly how it will look. They'll have their period 1 or their math and then their science, and those lessons separated one below the other. Now the student can go ahead and watch these lessons and engage with those lessons. So what they're going to do on the right hand side where it says status, it says enroll. The student simply will click enroll and the video lesson will pop up. They hit play and now the questions pop up. The student gets the question right, they move on. If the student gets the question wrong, they're kicked back. And here, I'm going to have the student get the question right. And if they want to suspend their progress, they can always hit suspend, and they'll be taken back to 8 seconds, 8.41 seconds into the video. And now they see that they're in progress in this lesson. And that's a nice reminder for the student to know that, hey, they've got to go back and finish this lesson. They can click that and then hit play, and they're taken back to the same spot. And now here that short answer essay comes up, and they hit submit. In this case, you'll see that the teacher response is there, the student response on how similar it is to the teacher response is given, and the student is able to move forward. Students can rewind their progress, but they can never fast forward, and they can always suspend their progress at any time. You'll notice that once a pop-up comes, whether it's a question or I've hit suspend, that countdown does begin. And if the student does not actually engage with the question or the pop-up within 5 minutes, it will automatically log them out and kick them back to just after the last previously correct answered question. Now we're going to have you log out and log back in actually as a teacher, but first I'm going to create at least one more student account so that way when we go back to the teacher page, you're going to see a few students and how the records look. Now, one thing really quick before we do go back to the teacher page, when a student is done with the video, it'll have this lesson completed pop up and they need to hit buy. It is essential that they do not try to exit out as it will not save their progress. They have to hit buy, and then once they do that, it'll say completed on the right hand side where they've completed that lesson. All right, so now let's go ahead and go back to the teacher page so that way you can see all the records. All right, so we're back to our teacher portal. We can view the lessons that we have. We can add more lessons. We can delete this whole class, which you don't want to do that. If you do hit delete it, double check and make sure you want to delete it, but don't do it unless you really want to. And then you go ahead and hit records. At this stage, you can see the records of all the students that have completed all your classes. So we can see that Cubs fan has not completed any, but they're in progress in subject verb agreement lesson versus Jane Doe 2 She has completed, and that was her first name and last name. I just put in Doe 2 as her last name, but Jane has completed Vimeo, and you can go ahead and give her credit as you see fit. Because Cubs fan did not have a first or last name to be put in, the first name is put in as their username, and their last name is put in as anonymous. So as long as you, as the teacher, know who Cubs fan is, that's all you need to know, and the rest of the world and nobody can actually know who TE Cubs fan is. Also, if one of your students has misplaced their password and they don't know what their password is, you can always type in their first name, double check that you're on the correct class name or class period, and then hit look up. And now we can see Jane Doe's username and then password is here. You can actually look up the student with TE Cubs fan if they've forgotten their password. Now remember, this is actually their username, although it's being displayed as their first name. So go over here to enter username and make sure it's on the same class period and look up. And you see that username TE Cubs fan has a password of this. I didn't really create any fancy passwords for students, but that's how you do that. That's pretty much it. This way you can give students credit for completing the lessons. You can look up their passwords as you need. The students can also reset their passwords if they need. If they do, when they go ahead and log in, I forgot my password, they type in their username and then hit find user, and then a password will be resent to them. Now, thank you guys so much for taking a look at this. If you do have any questions, feel free to email us at welcome@brainitz.com, or you can give us a call directly. That's right there in the pricing feature. Enjoy using Brainitz and have a great day.